Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Check, check, check. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Check.
या बोल दे accompanied by our distinguished Principal and Director, Ms. Vandana Marva. A very good morning to one and all, and welcome to Delhi Private School Sharjah's second edition of TEDxYouth. Today, I, Gauri Srinivasan,
and I, Arjun Yadav, will be hosting the event. The excitement in the air to hear the unmatched experiences and stories that our four speakers have to offer is almost palpable, isn't it, Gauri?
Indeed, Arjun. This year's lineup of speakers is one we are honored to host today. These individuals have poured countless hours into honing their crafts, and their dedication has led them to this moment. A 15-minute discourse, or rather a condensed narrative of their incredible journeys that we are all profoundly privileged to hear. Every speaker here has a unique story to tell, but they're all tied under our theme for this year, Unveil the Eclipsed.
Interesting. What are you trying to hint at with the word eclipse there?
One interpretation that I really like is the fact that an eclipse refers to a rare and opportune moment that each one of our speakers has taken, a moment that they may not have gotten a chance to tell the world as of yet. Well, today is that day.
That's a lovely interpretation. I think our audience can relate with the fact that life often has moments we wish we could bottle and preserve forever. Those times when you enjoy the fruits of your labor, spend invaluable time with family and friends, or even when you're honing your hobby or craft.
As the curtains of possibility rise, they reveal a stage not just of actors, but of thinkers, dreamers, and doers.
Our lineup of speakers for today is nothing short of extraordinary, each with their own unique light, ready to illuminate the vast expanse of our collective imagination.
Allow me to introduce a true visionary, a man who has donned many hats, each more impressive than the last. With a brain fueled by knowledge from two of India's finest institutions, IIM Calcutta and IIT, he seamlessly sculpted a path through the worlds of finance, technology, and software engineering. Alongside his contributions to LogiKids, an innovative platform focused on enhancing mental aptitude, what truly sets him apart is his commitment to causes close to his heart: children, education, health, and innovation in science and technology. It's as if he has transformed the raw data of his career into a beautiful equation of inspiration. Join us in embarking on a visual exploration into the world of Mr. Mikin Lala. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us as we welcome Mr. Mikin Lala on stage.
Good morning, everyone. Thank God I failed. Yes, you heard me right. Failure is such a word, a lot of us don't talk about it. Right? While we celebrate success a lot, very rarely do we talk about failures. And failure is something which can make or break someone. Yet I find it very surprising that we spend very little time, analyzing or talking about how to handle failures. It is very, very important that we spend time with kids, we spend time discussing how do you handle failures. Failures is something which is inevitable. There is never going to be a point, or there is no one who has never failed in life. Success is nothing but failure turned inside out. If I look back at my life, I feel I've been very, very fortunate to have failed many times. My life would have been very different had it not been the failures which I experienced. Let me tell you a couple of stories from my life, right? So, this was during my 12th grade. I was expected to be one of the top 50 rankers in the state. But, the pressure of expectation got to me and I failed miserably in my 12th standard. I scored some 76% marks, 80% in PCMB, and during my years, there was no entrance exam for engineering. The only way you could get into an engineering college in Gujarat was based on your 12th marks. I had not appeared for any entrance exam, no IIT. I was not even aware what IIT is at that time. And because I failed, it gave me an opportunity to dig deeper, explore my options. This is where I figured out there is something called IIT which I could appear for. And I took a break, I prepared for IIT, and I think that was a life-changing experience for me. I mean, IIT not just paved the way for my future, it also helped me meet my future wife. She was my neighbor when we were preparing for IIT, so had it not been this failure, my life and my wife would have been different. Right? So I think it was this instance when I realized, it's okay, failure is a phase, it passes. The second point was, in my engineering, I was in my final year, I was preparing for CAT. Again, I would always be among the top 20 rankers, all India in all the mock CATs. But I had an issue. I used to stammer a lot. Okay, so much that I remember in one of my years in engineering, in second year, one of my very close friends asked me, are you not afraid that your girlfriend, now my wife, would leave you because you're not able to speak properly? I did very, very bad in my engineering. I could not land a single job. I failed each and every interview because I could stammer. I could not speak one sentence properly without stammering. I cracked CAT with flying colors, but I could not clear the interviews. I failed every interview which I appeared for, including CAT. The only job I could get was in an IT company which did not have an interview. They chose people based on their aptitude test, and I was fortunate, my aptitude was good and I got through. This was the second failure which I experienced. Again, I think I realized this is again another transient phase. Let's look back at what went wrong and work on it, and here I am. I don't think if anybody listens to me today can tell me that I used to stammer like crazy. Right? So I think if I would not have failed at CAT or at cracking those interviews at that point of time, I would have never worked at my stammering. Right? I used to stammer right from my school days. But I never took it seriously till I failed and I realized I really need to get over this. So, as I said, failure is an important stepping stone to success. But what is more important is how do you look at failure, right? How do you handle it? And I feel there are few things which needs to be kept in mind when you look at failure. The first is, get rid of the fear of failure, right? Do not let the pressure of expectations get to you. A lot of us, when I talk to kids, when I talk to my son or his friends, I feel there's a lot of pressure of expectation on us. Like, what if? What will people think about it? Oh, this is the final chance. If I cannot get through something like this, I don't think I'll be successful. I think it's very, very important that we let go the pressure of expectation. We realize nothing is final, right? There are always multiple routes to reach a destination. Remember, in order to win a war, it's not important to win every battle. So always have a plan B. Whenever you fail, just look at it as if you are going to a destination and you missed a turn. Does that mean you will not reach your destination? You will still reach your destination, maybe it's a longer route. Right? That's what a failure is. You just missed a turn in your destination. Why is it that when you play a sport, let's say if you are playing cricket, you fail, you scored a 0, you are eager to get back on the field and play again. But why is it when you fail in something else, you are afraid to try again, right? I think that difference is something which we really need to get rid of. And that difference is nothing but the fear of failure or the pressure of expectation. Like someone has rightly said, the only thing to fear is fear itself. The second thing which I feel is important once you get rid of the fear of failure is, as I said, have a plan B. I think, whenever you work on something, you need to understand it is not the only route which can lead you to success, right? You need to have your goals slightly broader. You need to have your goals slightly bigger. And just for your own benefit, have a plan B. Because what that equips you, right? So I'll give you my example. When I was in my school, I was taking up science. A lot of people used to tell me, do you really want to take up science? I mean, there was a point in time where I failed in math in grade 7. That was another failure which helped me get better at math. But given my academic record, a lot of people told me, do you really want to get into science, right? I was prepared because I knew what, okay, if I fail at science, if I don't do well, I'm going to take up commerce. It doesn't matter, yes, it may be the path less traveled, but yes, theoretically a science graduate at that point of time could become a CA as well. I don't know what's the case now, but yes, so that was my plan B. Similarly, when I did not get through CAT, right, I mean it was a huge issue. I remember I was having my exams, my final year exams in engineering going on. When I got the result, I took it as a challenge that okay, I have not made it through. Let me put this behind and look ahead. The exam which I had the next day is the only exam in my 4 years at IIT Roorkee in which I scored an A+. Right, so I took it upon myself that okay, I will do it. Now the reason I was not faced or it did not really matter to me was that I knew if not this year, I will get into an IIM next year. When I look back at my journey, my batchmates who got into IIMs along with engineering and I who could not get into IIMs along with engineering, I feel it was better that I did not get into IIMs along with my engineering. Right, so always have a plan B because that will kind of rid you of that fear of failure. The third thing which is important is confidence. Right, always believe in yourself. You should always listen to what people say, but be aware of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Right, believe in yourself. Do not let things impact you. How do you really build confidence? Confidence doesn't come just by coming first in the class or scoring a hat-trick of goals or scoring a century. Confidence can be built by doing small things. Push yourself, right? Push yourself a little every time. When it becomes a habit, you will realize that you can do anything in this world. At least that's how I have developed my confidence. Whenever I felt, it could be a very small challenging task, it could be an assignment which you have to finish overnight. Can you do it? Do you have it in you? I remember just before my engineering, I was awake the entire night because I wanted to test. Can I stay awake the entire night and can I put it an all-nighter? I did not do anything, I just stayed awake. Right? So I think these small instances where you can push yourself will help you develop that confidence. It's not necessarily just be a winner always. Just understand what are your limitations. Can you push yourself beyond those limitations? I think that's an extremely important piece to build confidence. The fourth thing, which I believe, and probably the final thing I'm going to talk about, which is extremely critical, is analyze your failures. Right? A lot of time what happens, when you fail, you get clouded by the fear or the consequences, and you miss that you need to analyze it, what went wrong, and work on it. A lot of people cannot take negative feedback. They cannot accept that there is a weakness in them. Right? I think that's a habit you need to develop very, very fast. Right? The sooner you develop that, the better it will be. Always remember, hear everybody. Do not kind of feel that anybody who is giving you an opinion is not worth it. You should always be open to everybody's opinion, but evaluate it critically yourself. Figure out what you need to take from that, figure out what you need not take from that. and be aware of your weakness again, right? And if you can work on that weakness, it will really help you in a big way to kind of overcome or convert that failure into success. Again, when I look back at my life, if somebody looks at it, right, when in my engineering final year, when I could not get through IIMs, I got in the company which did not have an interview, of course the lowest paying job on the campus. What did I do, right? I basically made sure that I give my best at the job which I was doing. Because that was my plan B. If I could not get through IIMs again, at least I have a job where I'm doing exceedingly well. And in a year, I was actually leading a team of 3 people, one of which was 3 years senior to me. Right? So wherever I was making sure I was giving my best. Second thing is, I analyzed and I figured out that my biggest problem was my stammering. So what did I do? Next year, when I got the calls from IIMs, instead of preparing for interviews, on weekends, I started teaching at times. I said, let me push myself, let me push my boundaries. So what I did, right, when you're teaching kids, and these kids were 3 years younger to me. When I was teaching them and I was stammering and they were laughing at me, it was very tough at the beginning. But over time, I got used to it. And I realized that stammering, while it was a little bit of physical, it was equally psychological. And I was able to overcome that psychological aspect when I was teaching to them. So that is what helped me get rid of my stammering. So that was the failure which I worked on, and it really helped me. So I think, in short, whenever I look back at my life, I feel all of these instances were the game-changing moments for me. Right? I mean, whether it was a failure in 12th standard, whether it was my failure at cracking cracking interviews at the IIMs, and even after that, right? I mean, the life has been full of those. And I think each of these moments were the ones which really changed me. And I'm sure you talk to anybody who is successful, they will talk about that, right? I mean, just a few days back, I was listening to Steve Jobs' speech at Stanford, right, which he gave. I don't know how many of you are aware, Jobs was fired from Apple, the company which he founded. And he feels that setback, that failure was the reason why Apple is today where it is, right? That break which he got, where he was fired, is where he thought of ideas which effectively shaped the Apple of today. Right? So I think it's all about kind of, coming out of failures, figuring out how do you handle them. And given a lot of you are getting into a phase where you would be kind of encountering a lot of such instances where people will kind of talk to you about, okay, this is the only important thing which matters in your life. It's important that you develop this habit of accepting failures and analyzing it. Thank you.
Sir, your illustrious career spanning such diverse arenas, coupled with your dedication to important causes, is truly wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Mikinlala.
Brace yourselves for a dynamic force of innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. The amazing Ms. Malika Dan Kakar. With a master's in marketing from Cass Business School, she's not just a business enthusiast. Ms. Malika was the captain of the athletics team in her school days, because of which today she is the mastermind behind GoFit, a beacon of inspiration in the fitness world. Not just that, she has graduated as the vice head coach of her batch from DPS Marketpura. From being the president of the Marketing Society at Cass Business School to now the marketing director at LSI UAE, her career is not only a path, it's filled with a mosaic of expertise. She is certainly going to leave us all inspired and undoubtedly a bit envious of her ability to shine in every facet of her life. Before we hear Ms. Malika's words, let's uncover the highlights of her journey with a video. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Ms. Malika Kakar a warm welcome as she
takes the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about something that people would say are the ingredients of success. But I would say that they are simply the ingredients of living life. Now, what is success? Getting good grades, getting into your dream college, getting into some school that you want to. But for me, success is just surpassing your own goals. Something that you want within you, the expectations that you have within you, surpassing that is success. Doing better than what you thought you can is success. Now, what are the ingredients of success? The first is the power of failure. This is one of the most important ingredients. Now imagine you're walking and you suddenly fall down. What do? You stand up and you start walking, right? Or do you sit there and think, God made me fall down, so I'm going to continue sitting? No, you don't. So you stand up and you start walking. And why is that? That's because your mind is actually trained in the way that when you fall, it tells you to stand up and start moving. Now this is how your brain is trained. Now you may question, how can one succeed if you fail? But trust me, if you learn how to deal with failure, you will succeed. Now imagine, as a former athlete, we used to train the entire year for races, sacrificing on a lot of things, your social events, your sleep, many other things, your holidays, for that one moment of race. And how long that race in athletics lasts? Just a couple of seconds. So within a few seconds, you actually see how well you did the entire year. Whatever your result is right in front of you in a few seconds. And you have to deal with your failure or your victory at that point and that moment. So that is what trained my mind to deal with failure and deal with success, which also helped me as an entrepreneur. So when I moved to Dubai, I was so comfortable with moving out of my comfort zone. I was so comfortable with dealing with failure that joining a new industry with my husband didn't bother me. I was okay because I thought, let me try. So what if I can't do it? I'll find another way. Maybe I can't do some part of the business. I'll be good at something else. I'll do that. But I never for a moment thought that I will not try. Failure is a skill, and if you master that skill, you will realize how you can take on a lot of challenges without having the fear. Nothing will scare you, and I don't mean failing in exams. Next is the power of moving out of your comfort zone. Now at this age, all of you have a lot of time and energy. This is the time to find the path you want to take. But to reach your destination, you have to start walking today. You have to start exploring. You have to start experimenting with your activities, your hobbies, your passions. Now, as you all know, I'm a former athlete, and there is a very funny story of how I actually got into athletics in the first place. So there was this inter-school competition, and I was in the school football team. So the coach started to look for athletes for the inter-school competition, as it was a very prestigious one. Since I was in the school football team, my stamina and my speed were very decent, so he decided to take me on the team. Without knowing what event we are going to do, I just decided to join the team. However, there were two things. One, that it meant I would have to come to school 2 hours early, so I had to give up on my sleep. And the second was exploring the world of athletics, which I didn't know. I knew nothing about the sport. But there was also a silver lining. It also meant that I would get to miss the first 2 periods of classes in school, which was very exciting for me. So I jumped to the opportunity and I joined the team. Little did I know how it's going to turn out, how I'm going to perform, what it's going to be. On the day of the event, not only did I win the 100 and 200 meters, I also won the best athlete of the tournament amongst all the DPSs and amongst all the athletes from every other sport. Now, that made me realize that moving out of my comfort zone and exploring something new, I didn't know I would find the passion for life. I would find something that I would absolutely love and I would live for the rest of my life. Now with this same mindset, I came to Dubai as well. When we were moving to Dubai, my husband and I were starting the business, and with zero contact, zero knowledge about the industry, at least for me, we decided to move. Now, I wasn't scared to move out of my comfort zone, to leave the amazing startup that I had there, GoFit, to leave my family, to leave my friends, to leave my beautiful city. I was not scared. So we moved in an instance to Dubai and started our business. If I hadn't made that move, I don't think I would have been here in front of you today. All thanks to athletics and the mindset that it gave me. Which brings me to our third ingredient, which is the power of competition. Now at this age, you're all competing. You're competing for scores, competing to get into the best colleges, competing for your favorite stream, and also competing for more Instagram followers. But the true competition actually lies within yourself. The day you start feeling comfortable with competing with yourself, you will actually be a better person. You will actually perform better and you will be happier. You cannot compare yourself to someone else. The circumstances that they are in, the reason why they are performing, all their talent. Everyone has a different talent, has a different strength. But you can certainly compete with your own self. If you compete with yourself, you will always outperform it. If you put in the hard work, you will outperform your old self. And that will make you happier and more content. Now, when I was competing, there were obviously other athletes with me in the races that I was competing with. But I was never happy if I actually won a race with a bad timing. For me, every race was always about giving my best personal timing. So I would rather lose with a personal best timing than win with a bad timing. And that's the mindset you need to have. Your real competition is you. And if you can beat yourself, you can do anything. Nothing is impossible or unachievable. The same thought process applied also to my professional life when I moved. At that point when I moved, I had zero knowledge of the industry. Each and every day, I was only competing with my knowledge of that day. So I kept working towards learning more and more about the business. As an amateur in the industry, if I would have compared myself to anyone else in the industry, I would have definitely not made it this far. I only compared myself to myself yesterday that I was and kept on learning something new each and every day. Our next ingredient is the power of listening. Listen, don't just hear. Now here is when we hear our parents, yes mom, I heard you. We all do that. But listening is when you actually take in the information that someone in front of you with more experience is telling you. Now when you listen to someone who has more experience and is giving you information that you don't know about, you are actually giving yourself the power to make a more informed decision. You now are more informative about the things around you. And using the experience of the other person, you can now make a better decision. So listening is extremely important. You have to listen, not just hear. Now, when I was learning about our business here, I would quietly go every evening, just sit in a corner and listen. I would listen to the person imparting knowledge about the product. I would listen to the client giving their feedback. I would listen to my colleagues giving their sales pitch. And I would just learn. I would take in, I would make notes, I would write down what are they saying, how are they dealing with the situation. If the client is saying something, how does one deal with the situation? I would write and make notes. I prepared myself like it was an exam. I would write everything down. And that's how I prepared and I learned about the business. That brings us to our last ingredient, which is the power of consistency. Now, anything you do in life requires consistency. Consistency means the reason to go and do something even when you don't want to. Continuing to do something even when you're not motivated enough. Now, as an athlete, no matter what came my way, I went for training every day. Bad weather, even if my friends were not joining in, even if there was traffic, even if I was not feeling well or I was tired, I made sure I turned up for training each and every day. And with the same mindset, when I started the business here, I would go to office and just sit every day. Even if I didn't have too much work, even if I could take a day off, enjoy, I went to office every single day and just sit. Because when you are in an environment, you get motivated by that environment. You will always learn something. Now imagine if you go to a stadium and you're watching a game. Don't you always feel like you want to join in, you also want to play, and you think, I can play better than him. What is he doing? Because when you're in a certain environment, you feel like being in that environment. You feel like doing something that is part of the environment. And that is what consistency means. Go wherever you need to be, do that every day. Be consistent with what you do. Whether you do it for a little time, whether you do it for longer, but you need to be consistent. And consistency is what helps you achieve. Now, some people are talented, but some people are consistent. And believe me when I say this, if you are consistent, you can surpass talent. Which brings me to the end of my talk, and I would like to say, I generally would ask myself a question. Can I do it? But I don't know. I never knew the answer. So I stopped asking myself, can I do it? Instead, I started asking myself, can I live without trying? Because I knew, as an athlete, as a mindset that sports gave me, that I could not leave something halfway. I could not even leave without trying. And if you try, you're already on the path of success. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, the vast range of ideas and knowledge that resides within your mind is mesmerizing to witness. We remain in awe of your remarkable achievements. Thank you, ma'am.
Get ready to be enthralled by the harmonious journey of a true luminary, Mr. Jogiraj Sikidar. As the founder and CEO of Malhar, Dubai's nurturing haven for Indian performing arts, he has orchestrated a symphony of cultural pride and uniting traditions. Beyond the stage, he is a music educationist supporting the next generation of artists. But wait, there's more to him. He is a digital content creator, spinning melodious narratives in the digital realm. Let's witness a journey where music and entrepreneurship collide with a short video.
this is move. Yes. Next.
And previously.
Okay, thank you. How many of you are passionate about something? Or if I... Yes, please. What you are passionate about? Yeah. Yes, please. Anyone else? Oh, nice. Okay, so it's very important, I feel, when I look back my journey so far, that I was passionate about music and it was my hobby. So today I'm going to unveil the eclipsed of Plan B, which was, I was passionate or it was just a hobby for me. I born and brought up in a very small town in Assam, and music was part of my lifestyle in my growing up years. Same way we all go in the evening to play, come back, then of course there was no internet and anything at that time, then do some music, study, go off to sleep, morning going to school. That's how the routine used to be. My parents never told me that that's your hobby. It's pretty much like you are eating, you are taking shower, same way you have to do, or you do music. Rather, you have to do music, you do music. After finishing my grade 10, I came to Delhi to visit my sister. She was studying at the time in Jawaharlal Nehru University. Campus, I came and I told my sister that I would like to do my grade 11-12 in Delhi. So she said, but how will you get admission? Because it's very difficult to get admission suddenly in 11th and 12th when you have not done the school. As things could move, I had gone for some music competition in Delhi. There's a New Delhi Kalibadi. And I performed there and won some award. Interestingly, there was a school principal there as one of the chief guests. And he was talking to me. I won prizes and he was talking to me and he said, so which school or what do you do? So I said, I just came to Delhi on a vacation to visit my sister, and I'm thinking if I can get admission in any of the school in Delhi. So he said, yeah, come tomorrow, you will get an admission. So I stayed in Delhi, I finished my 11th and 12th standard exams, whatever, all those schooling. In 12th, I didn't score really good marks. So my dream was to study one of the good university of Delhi University, good college of Delhi University. But with the percentage that I scored, no way I can go anywhere closer to this university, not campus colleges. So my very good friend who had scored at the time, I think something like 98% or something. So I went with him to fill the form for him. And I came across a small poster. It says that we have extracurricular admission in the college. And I just filled my form for that. Then there was an audition round. I appeared for the audition. And interestingly, I got through top 4 colleges of Delhi University of subject of my choice to study. My friend who actually scored 98% plus or 99, he didn't get whatever his preferred subject. So good, again, music, my plan B worked for me to get admission. When I went to the college, I became part of the music society and I started exploring the world suddenly. In fact, if I can look back, I think those 3 years were very, very crucial or formative years for me, to understand. I started representing first college, then university, across the country, different universities and all. And when I was finishing my final year, suddenly I realized, oh, what do I do now? I have no idea what I'm going to do after the college, because it just flew. Because I was so busy with college choir, theater festival, etc., etc. In my final year, in the Delhi University convocation, I was singing in the opening, and behind the stage, I met 2 interesting personalities. One was Vinod Dua, and another was Dr. Prannoy Roy, who owned the NDTV. So they were asking, you sing so well, so what's your plan? What are you going to do? So I said, well, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I thought maybe media, because some of my seniors had joined by then NDTV and other media houses, because private media company was very new in India. Prannoy had a show in Doordarshan called World This Week, and Vinod Dua had a show called Parak. So Vinod told me, okay Jogi, I can give you a job. If you want, I can give you a job after you finish your college, but with one condition, you have to teach me music. So I said, oh, that's very easy. I can get a job like this just to teach owner of a company music, really? Oh, that's nice. Fine. So he said that, okay, you start coming and you will finish 1 hour before a certain days in a week, and you will come to my cabin and you will teach music to me. Okay? I realized that those 2-3 years in the media when I started, I had to start absolutely from the scratch. So literally, every night, sleeping in the studio or office, and my thing was that how can I move forward, because I'm stuck in that production circuit. So one day I asked Vinod, do you think I can do reporting or journalism in the entertainment beat? So he said, yeah, you are passionate about music, theater, films, give it a try. So I started doing stories on the entertainment bit. And that's how again started sort of meeting interesting people. And at the time, one day I asked my guru, music teacher, that Ma, what do you think if I take music as a career, because I really like it and I love to do this? She said, beta, look, you don't have any godfather or godmother. Indian classical music is a very uncertain professional career. Do you really want to walk on that path? Because there is no surety of your living, paying bills, etc. Since you have already entered in the media industry, how about you go on that path and keep music as your second or plan B or whatever profession which you enjoy most? And you don't make career at the very beginning, because you may be expecting something, but once it's your living, you may have to do a lot of compromises. So I said, fair enough. Then one day I got an opportunity, because one of my dream channel to work was National Geographic. So these days we use a word called manifesting. So I used to think, wish I could work channel like National Geographic, and as it could happen, there was an opening, I applied. Multiple round of interview was there. In the final round of interview with the managing director, when I was in the interview, he said, we have shortlisted 2 people and you are one of them. Now you need to convince me why I should take you. So I said that, okay, I think I come with an X factor, which is music. So he said, but yeah, you are coming to National Geographic, how music is going to help? So I said, there are a lot of areas, or rather everything music can help. And then, of course, in the interview I spoke about it, and I was hired in National Geographic as a creative director for the channel in India across the network. After a couple of years, I moved to Dubai with a job again. And after moving here, suddenly I realized that I have a lot of free time. Because in India, media industry, we actually used to work almost like a 24 hours, if not more, kind of. And here in Dubai, it was very systematic. You go probably at 9 o'clock, leaving office at 5 o'clock. I used to have a full 2 days weekend. So I thought, okay, how about I continue or give more time to my music, which I was unable to give when I was in India in the media industry. So gradually, I started connecting with a lot of like-minded people in Dubai who are passionate about either dance or music or something. So some said that I would like to learn music. I said, yeah, come over home. Some people come over home, we will do some jamming, etc. After a couple of months, I thought, okay, things are very organic, nothing planned, nothing. It's more of a, what I like most, doing that at home. And also at the time, my son was just 1 year old. So I thought, okay, let's create an environment at home the way I grew up, that having music at home all the time as a part of lifestyle, not as a hobby. So maybe he will also get that exposure with just a simple these two thoughts. After almost a couple of months to close to 1 year, I realized that, oh, there are a lot of people I have gathered who are passionate about one of the art form, Indian art form. So we thought, okay, let's create a group. And we gave a name called Malhar. Malhar means, Malhar is the Indian raga, and which means monsoon. The name to give that is that because it's in the desert land, let's bring the rain of music. Again, like weekends, they're coming, all are working professionals, and we used to jam, we used to create shows, and then we started connecting with various corporate houses or Indian consulate, etc. And we started performing there as a group. Again, I realized, hey, music, which I'm passionate about, whether, and which is a plan B, which once my guru had told me, is actually working, be it getting admission in school, getting admission in university, or getting into one of the dream company that I always wanted to work for. Then moving to Dubai, suddenly I realized that because of music, it's bringing a lot of friends to me. Even if I go to any family gathering or friends gathering, let's hear your music. So I said, okay. So then we started creating Broadway shows with Indian classical music, dance and theatre, and started doing sellout shows. We ran that for almost more than 8 years, and every year we used to put up a very original production on a theme. Then in these 8 years also, during the day I was working in a company, in the evening, just like me, many friends who are probably in the day, they are an architect or salesperson or marketeer or whatever, meeting in the evening and we are jamming. So almost 8 to 9 months we used to work for a show and then putting up that show, probably for 2-3 shows and complete sellout shows. After running that 8 years, one day I was thinking, okay, it's giving me happiness. It is giving happiness to my friends whom we all are performing together. But once the show is over, what's next? Working for next show? But what I learned over the years, be from my gurus or my parents or whoever I met, I'm actually not sharing that. I'm just putting up a show. And there is nothing take back after that. So one fine day, it was summer 2016, I thought, okay, let's give it a formal shape and open an education, music or performing art education center. And whatever my learnings or my friends' learning, let's pass it on whoever wants to learn. So we opened Malabar Center for Performing Arts. And after almost 6 months of managing an entrepreneurial journey and while working in a company at the peak of my career, I thought quit my job. I was telling my wife that 6 months, don't expect any salary, anything. If you can manage, let me give it a shot. If it doesn't work, I can always go back to work, job, and start a job. Now when I look back, I think this is the most satisfying journey I have done so far, and only because of there was a plan B, which was not really a plan, but it was a hidden passion. I was passionate about a hidden idea. When I started Malabar Center for Performing Arts, my 25 years of career in the industry, I could bring my learnings, creating brand, how to market your product, how to crack the numbers, all these things I can use there. So my thought is that even if you're passionate about something, you don't have to start at that point in time, or inner calling. You may or you may not, but eventually, if your consistency over the years you are working on it and you love to do it, eventually it somewhere connects with whatever you have done, and the roads, they merges together. I give an interesting example of Harsha Bhogle, who is an IIM Ahmedabad graduate, and he was passionate about cricket, and he is now Indian commentator in the matches. So I conclude my last one is that, of course, your plan B, your passion, your hobby, but along with that, if you put hard work, and I give most importantly with that is the ethics. If these things are all coming together, you will be end of the day a happy person. I think at this age, I feel I'm the very happy person because I start my day 6 in the morning with music, and I end my day probably at 7:30, 8 in the night with music. At 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, if somebody asks me, hey, can you sing? I'll say, yes, of course. And that's what matters to me. So plan B, you never know, but you should have a plan B, which my other speakers also spoke before me, that you never know when plan B comes and at what point it helps you. Not necessarily. Even, like today I'm a musician, I'm running an entrepreneurship at the same time, but it all coming to a full circle, and it's because of, I guess, the plan B. Thank you.
As the orchestrator of Malabar and the digital content creator, sir, you have blended the worlds of culture and entrepreneurship seamlessly. Your journey is a beautiful combination of innovation and tradition. And we are thrilled to have the opportunity to delve into your path. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Dinesh Kothari, the Managing Director of Private School Sharjah, DPS Dubai, DPS Jodhpur, and DPS Russell a name synonymous with education, humanitarianism, and philanthropy, has left an indelible mark with his selfless endeavors. While many may know him for his tireless dedication to communities, promoting education, today we gather to unveil untold stories that have shaped his remarkable journey. Here is a snapshot of Dr. Kothari's experiences. gentlemen,
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us as we welcome Dinesh Kothari on stage.
Is it on? Yeah. Can all hear me? Good morning. Good morning. Namaskar. After seeing what the youth can do, it's just so difficult to pass my 73 years of life in the next 2 hours. I'm going to speak for 2 hours. I have to go by pro rata. Younger people get 15 minutes, I must get pro rata more time. You know, we all heard some beautiful stories. Let me start where I come from. And I'll talk, since I talked about this until yesterday, what experienced. I come from an ordinary middle class family. My father was a government servant. So was my grandfather. My father-in-law was also a government servant. So what we did not have was a lot of money. But what we had was a lot of education. Everyday conversation at house, at home, on the dining table, when we ate together, revolved around intellectual issues rather than talking about money or the cars or the homes and so on and so forth. So that gave us value. That life is not necessarily valuable if you have a lot of money, but it's precious if you have a lot of value inside it. And that's what we grew up with. To be honest, and that's not saying for the sake of saying, I wasn't a brilliant student. My single point is somehow or not. And mercifully, the students behind me were so kind, they pushed me to the next one. And they said, look, we need the seat to better. Anyway, it happened. I went on. I was more fond of playing in the evening, go around, meet friends, and so on and so forth. So education was not on top of my list. But I still wanted to be an engineer because science students were brilliant students. Commerce students were not good students. Those who had less brains went to commerce. There was a somehow perception at that age. But being as good as I was in studies, I didn't qualify to get into engineering. So my mother rather, said, because my mama, my elder one, was a government servant, a CA, chartered accountant. So he said, why don't you do CA? I said, how can I do CA? CA is so difficult, blah, 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 and I can't do it, and I have not done BCom, I have done 12th in science. So I was packed off to Jodhpur to live with my grandfather. And thought under his custodianship, guardianship, I'll do well with my career, so I went to Jodhpur to study, to do my BCom. Having not done too well in 12th. I mean, you did much better. So, but the habits are habits. Morning go to the college, evening go and play in the school auditorium and do this, that, the other. So the result of the first year was reflective of my conduct. Did pretty badly. I didn't have grandmother. I lived alone with my grandfather because I lost my grandmother before I was born. So one night he called me in his room and said, if you don't study, what will you do? Have you thought of it? And there's a tipping point. What I want to tell you students is, listen, don't ignore. And these are tipping points in life. That night, I was 17 and a half, 18 years old. I sat alone by myself in the room. And I told myself, how can my grandfather tell me at this stage, what will I do, and I'm good for nothing, basically. So I challenged myself. And I promised to myself that I have to prove to my grandfather that I can do something better. And I worked hard, studied hard. There was devotion, there was commitment, there was challenge within. Because my first year marks were not so good, I was, I think, almost on the borderline of second division. But finally in the university, I stood the 4th rank. Because that tipping point which told me that what will you do, you are not doing enough, etc., etc., and I took it in my heart. I listened to it, I analyzed it, I introspected. That come to really think of it, my father is a government servant. He has no money. When I was doing my chartered accountancy, then I went on to do CA to Hyderabad. My possession in my suitcase were 3 trousers, 4 shirts, 2 night dresses, few pairs of socks and handkerchiefs, and so on and so forth. That was it. And I went off to Hyderabad to do my CA. But what was there? The clothes were not enough, but there was so much of pride. The values of the family that stood by us. So I did my intermediate in the first attempt, despite the fact most of the other members other than my parents had so much of confidence that he will never do CA. He just cannot do CA, he is a tough course. They used to tell my father and mother, why are you wasting his 4 years of his time? He will not qualify. So I did intermediate in the first attempt. This was a fluke. It happened. And then came my final exams of CA. Both my parents were admitted in Bombay hospital for operation. So when I arrived from Hyderabad to Bombay, from the station, my brother took me straight to the hospital. And I stayed there. They both had major surgeries in the hospital for a month and a half. So I could not prepare, and therefore I decided to take a drop in that particular time, because CA we can do exams every 6 months. We knew he will give up. That was the general perception about me. But my mother and my father, they said, look, you have lost 6 months of your time, so why don't you take 3 months break from your articleship and come home and study? I did, and I passed. And I passed both things in the first attempt. Basically what it is, these are the few things you have to take to your heart when people tell you cannot do it. That's the time you tell yourself, I can. If he can do it, I can do it. If there are 3,000 chartered accountants in the city, why can't be the 3,000 first? That's a faith we have to have in ourselves. And of course, there has to be some support behind you, emotional. And most important support comes from parents. There's no bigger support. In fact, when school plays happen, shows happen, you see children looking in the crowd for their parents. They are not looking for them to take them home. They are looking for their endorsement. Well done. Nothing else matters to a child. Nothing else matters. So the support of parents, the emotional backup is so important. I got a job in Bombay with ICICI when it was not a bank. Then I come from Marwadi family, educated, chartered accountant, get married. Simple, 23 years. Lost 23 years of life. Get married now, for God's sake. So my mother said, we are getting a lot of proposals, so why don't you go and see the girl? I have an elder sister. And I saw what happened. There used to be times when boys used to come to see her, and it was not necessarily the first boy who came and said yes. My sister used to cry. It's very upsetting. So I told my mother that I'll do anything, but I'll not see a girl. And if I see first one, whatever she is, I'll get married. So you decide. So she chose girl for me, whom I met 6 months after my engagement, by the way. I was working in Bombay that time, and I didn't have time to come home. What I'm trying to do, parents always take right decisions for you. Because they are the only ones whose single point agenda is your happiness. No parent has put their happiness ahead of their children. They all have the children's well-being, interest, and happiness ahead of them. Listen to them. It's very important. Anyway, then I came to Dubai, and I worked for many years for somebody here, and I grew up in Sharjah. I rose to the ranks of CEO of that group. I left, and I started this education journey. Before that, I got into investment banking. And I think you were asking me, we represented a very large multinational company in 2005 We did India's largest private sector, my company did the largest private sector transaction. How did I meet them? Very interesting. And this is what students, you must remember, children, you must remember. When opportunities come, you don't know. How they come, you don't know. But they do come. Important is you keep your mind open and you take them. Because no destination to success is without walking through the streets of failures. We all walk through that. So this gentleman, I was in Bombay for something else, and I was sitting in a coffee shop, and there was a Swiss gentleman sat next to me, and we started talking. He said, "What do you do?" I said, I run a financial consulting firm, and we have international practice in Dubai, and here's, et cetera, et cetera. He said, "What's your plan in the morning?" I said, "I have a morning 6 o'clock flight to Delhi." He said, "Can you stay?" I said, "Depends. If there's something interesting, why not?" So he said, "We are looking at acquiring a cement company, and we need somebody as our eyes and ears who can lead the transition, help us." And the first deal that he took me to, I studied all the papers overnight, and I said, "This is not a deal we should be doing. Or we should be doing at this price," which was half the price which they were advised by somebody else. So we walked away from that. So I had a handwritten fax from the CEO of the organization, Holcim, which is the world's largest cement company. "Dear Dinesh, welcome to the team. We hope to work together." 15 years we worked together till we struck the deal. I think every single cement plant I looked at in India for them, and we didn't find it interesting. The life is strange. Whom you meet, where you meet, and where they take. Important is don't have a rigidity in your thinking, that that's all that I will do. You have rigidity for your career, but when you walk the journey, look at all sides, keep your mind open, and the opportunities will come to you. And you must know which one to put your hands on, and they come. Then I got into education. The first project outside of India, first project I did in Jodhpur, which is in memory of my late grandfather. It's a charitable trust that we had, the 5,000 students. And then year 2000, we opened DPS Sharjah. Mrs. Marwa has been here from day one. So she has seen the journey that we walked. It started with modest 185 students to 6,000 today. Their commitment. So it was a success. 3 years later, we opened in Dubai. 2 years down the road, that was successful. Then we opened one in Academic City. That didn't do well. At some point, after 3 years, we took a decision that this is not the right location for the Indian curriculum school. So we decided to close that campus and shift the children to our existing campuses. In Dubai, we have to take permission of government to shut down the school. So I went to see Director General KHDA for the permission to close the school. She said, "Dinesh, you must have lost a lot of money. You ran such a large campus for 3 years." So I laughed and said, "Not really. I haven't lost money." I said, "Why is such a big campus?" "You must have." Dr. Karam, when I came in 74, I came with $10 in my pocket. I earned so much less. I didn't lose. What did I bring that I lose? He laughed and said, "That's one way." Maybe that's the only way. Otherwise, I'll not set up another school. I can't give up. I can't give up. The message I'm trying to say, my overconfidence that what I do works. Sharjah, Dubai, I can open anywhere, it'll work. No, I learned a lesson. You have to be logical. You have to analyze your errors. And I realized that was a mistake I made. I was advised by the same gentleman, Director General of KHDA, this is not the location for Indian school. I said, "Dr. Karam, don't worry. I can be in the jungle and it'll work." Confidence is desirable. We all should have confidence, must have confidence. Overconfidence is not desirable at all. Because then you become illogical. It's important that we remain logical. We think rationally. Mistakes teach us. I sat back, I thought, analyzed what went wrong. And after that, we've set up 3 more schools. Because now we have learned through our failures, we have learned through our mistakes, is so important that we don't give up, we analyze and move rationally. Life is beautiful. Recently, I'm reading a very nice book, Romancing Tagore. Tagore wrote the best poetry in Bengali, we all know it. In this lovely book, there's 9 Urdu poets who are influenced by Tagore poetry and written in Urdu, not translated. Use that as a theme. And that's why it's called Romancing Tagore. So children, most important thing in life is romance. You must love what you do. You must love your school, then you'll enjoy school education. You love your teachers, then you listen to them. You love your parents, you'll be obedient. You love environment, you'll keep air clean. If you don't have romance with all these things, you'll ill-treat them. And if you ill-treat any one of that, life will never be successful. So romance is important because the only way you can determine do you love something or not is when the mistakes of the other things, you start liking that, means you're in love with that. The school will have some shortages. Your teacher may have something not 100% right. Your parents may tell you something which you may not like. But if you love them, if you have romance with them, you'll not look at the negative side. You look at the positive side. And that's so important in life. I'll close with that. But since I have to talk till yesterday I had a very nice message, which I'm going to read out to you. And this is beautiful lines from Robert Drake. Sometimes I feel I want to go back in time. Not to change things, but to feel a couple of things twice. Sometimes I wish I was a baby for a while. Not to be walked in the pram, but to see my mother's smile. I wish I could go back to school. Not to become a child, but to spend more time with those friends I never met after school. Sometimes I wish I could be back in college, not to be a rebel, but to really understand what I studied. Sometimes I wish I was a fresher at my work, not to do less work, but to recall the joy of the first paycheck. So it can go on. Since the times that we are gone can never come back, let's enjoy the moments as we live them from now on to the fullest. All the best. God bless you.
Sir, today you generously opened a window into your magnificent journey, and we are deeply grateful for the opportunity to hear the rich tapestry. Apologies. For the opportunity to hear the rich tapestry of your experiences. Thank you, sir.
Throughout these indelible speeches, we have received many queries from our audience. Don't you think it's time to answer them, Arjun?
Absolutely. We now have a short interactive session for our speakers to connect with our audience.
Thank you, Gauri and Arjun. Good morning. I'm Sara Mullah, your press head.
And I'm Mohammad Roshan, press member.
We've just had a series of highly stimulating TED Talks by 4 inspiring achievers, to say the least. However, the learning process is unceasing, and we, the students, would love some further insight. Let's begin the question and answer session. Over to Roshan for the first question of the day.
A very good morning to everyone present. My first question is towards Mr. Mikin Lala. Sir, what role do you believe creativity plays in the educational process? And how can high school students nurture their creativity while still meeting educational requirements?
Yeah, so I think Creativity plays a very important role no matter where you are or what you do, right? I think as sir also spoke about, right? I mean, when an opportunity comes to you, whether you grab it or not, even that is sometimes dependent on the creativity you have. So creativity for sure plays a very, very critical role across things, including education. Creativity, however, is not just about arts, performing arts, right? Creativity can be in different ways. How you creatively think of a solution? Are you logical? How do you nurture that, right? I think the best way to nurture that is to promote inquisitiveness. I think that's the first step to become creative. If you're not inquisitive, you cannot be creative. So I think the first thing is all of you should promote that, right? Ask the right questions. How, what, why. Be inquisitive. Look at alternatives. Look at things beyond the obvious. And I think that's the best way to promote or kind of develop creativity.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from the audience.
Very good morning. My name is Abhilash P. Lovely, and I'm the head boy of Arun High School, Dubai. So my question is to Ms. Malika. Ma'am, being the marketing director of such a huge company, you would have indeed worked with a cross-functional team. That is, people with expertise in different fields. So how did you work together and foster communication and collaboration with all of them? And ma'am, what sort of advice would you give us as students to develop in a team-oriented environment?
I think to put together a good team, you actually have to be a sympathetic leader. You have to foremost understand the strengths of the people around you and their weaknesses. Knowing their strengths equally as much as their weaknesses is very important. And when you know that about your team, you can build a very strong team. Second thing I would say is communication. Being able to communicate to your team and letting your team communicate to you is one of the most important ways to keep your team pushing forward. When they feel your team feels that they're approachable, they communicate with you, they can speak out their ideas, whether they're good, whether they're bad. If they feel they have that relationship with you, I feel that really helps take the team forward. I have always worked with my colleagues, whether senior, whether junior, as a family. And I always reach out to them as family. So if I have any good news, professional, personal, I share it with everyone. I make sure every year on my birthday, I cut a cake with them because they are as much as my family as anyone else. And you treat your team like, communicate everything professionally as well with them. I feel it's a great way. Your team also respects you the same way back, and it's a great way to take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Those were all skills that we should aim to imbibe. Our third question is for Dr. Kothari. Sir, what is one lesson or a piece of advice from your role as the Managing Director of TEDx that you would like to share with us high school students as we navigate our path to our educational journey and career lives?
I won't speak as a managing director. I'll give an advice otherwise. With my years of experience, not only to high school students. Okay, you asked me a specific question for the high school students, so I must answer that. Be focused in what you want to do. Put in your best in what you want to achieve. Because in life, we don't get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate for. It's so important. It's your time to negotiate your life going forward today. If today you don't have the correct negotiations with time, with yourself, to achieve what you want to do, you'll not get there. So remain focused. Have your vision clear. If there's doubt, there's some confusion, talk to your teachers, talk to your parents, and have clarity. And once that is there, follow that path. And that's what you should remain focused on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our fourth question is from the audience.
Good morning. I'm Trinav from DPS Dubai. My question is for Mr. Jogiraj. So, sir, I myself am quite passionate about music as I play the guitar and I sing as well. And I would like to ask you that since education currently exceeds far beyond classrooms, so how do you think that students, like high school students, can harness the power of art and to complement their education and bring change to their communities?
First of all, education, when the first thing we learn when we go to learn any art form is that you are a student. So even today, if anybody asks me, what do you do? I say, I am a student of music. So you become forever student, and moment you put yourself in the shoes of student, you are always learning. Okay, so coming to your very specific question, how to incorporate art in your education or whatever, my answer to that would be, there is nothing right and wrong. That's first thing what I learned. Like, you may like this red carpet, I may not like this red carpet. That doesn't mean that red carpet is good or bad. It's up to me how I am perceiving it and presenting it so that you start connecting with it. So for me, it's important when we incorporate art to education or anything, and for that matter, go with a mindset that there is always another point of view, another way to look at it, and that is also fine. And even what I'm looking at, that's also fine.
Thank you, sir.
I think I'll just take a liberty of one more question. Mr. Jogiraj, describe this morning musically.
That's the most easiest thing I would say. So, since you said this morning, so this piece actually, when I was growing up, it used to come to Doordarshan quite often, and I used to love that jingle. So I just sing it for you. पूरब से सूरज उगा फैला उजियारा जागे हर दिशा दिशा जागे हर दिशा दिशा जागा जग सारा पूरब से सूरज उगा फैला उजियारा. So that used to be the National Education Council's jingle, Rashtriya Saksharata Commission. Yeah, thank you.
Make the morning magic.
Thank you for that beautiful rendition, sir. And your answer, your points truly resonate with us. A heartfelt thanks to each and every one of our erudite speakers for answering our questions with patience and clarity.
It was indeed an enriching experience for us. With this comprehensive understanding of your struggles, successes, and glorious destinations, we now conclude our question and answer session. To continue with our event, we now hand over the mics to Gauri and Arjun.